Hello students. So in this session we are going to learn regarding the continuous charge distribution, Gauss theorem, applications of Gauss theorem. So in that applications of Gauss theorem we are going to derive an expression for electric field at a point due to an infinitely long straight charged wire or a conductor, and an expression for electric field at a point due to an infinitely uniformly charged plane sheet. And then third one, an expression for electric field intensity at a point due to a uniformly charged spherical shell. So let us take one by one. First concept is continuous charge distribution. See, first we must know what is the meaning of continuous charge distribution. So it is the system of closely spaced charges. What does it mean? See, we cannot define the concept of charge when they are distributed. So when the charges are closely packed so that the distance between the two charges must be very less when compared to the distance of point of interest. So what does that mean? So you can observe this one. We have taken so many number of charges and the distance between the charges is very small when compared to the point where we have taken from this conductor. So this process is known as the continuous charge distribution. So in this continuous charge distribution we have three types. One is called the linear charge density, that is represented by lambda, surface charge density, that is represented by sigma, and volume charge density, that is represented by rho. So let us take one by one. The first concept is the linear charge density. The word only indicates linear, means it must be along a straight line. See, if you consider any wire, if you given a charge to that, if the length is very long, so that we can determine the number of charges present per unit length of a conductor, and that is called the linear charge density. So you can see the definition of that. It is the charge per unit length, and it is given by the equation, that is lambda is equal to Q by L, where lambda indicates the symbol of linear charge density, Q indicates the charge, and L indicates the length of the conductor. So lambda is equal to Q by L is the expression for linear charge density, and it is measured in terms of coulomb per meter. You can see that expression, lambda is equal to Q by L. So Q is measured in terms of coulomb and length is measured in terms of meter. So coulomb per meter is the SI unit of linear charge density, and the dimensional formula for that linear charge density is given by mass to the power of 0, length to the power of -1, time to the power of 1, and current to the power of 1. So that m0, L minus 1, T0, and then A1. So this is the dimensional formula for the linear charge density. And the second one, that is surface charge density. So surface charge density is the charge per unit area of a conductor. So it is defined as, it is a charge per unit area of a conductor. So it is represented by the notation sigma. Therefore sigma is equal to Q divided by A, where Q indicates the charge and A indicates the area of cross section. So that sigma is equal to Q by A is the expression for the surface charge density, and it is measured in terms of coulomb per meter square. So as we know that it is the equation given by sigma is equal to Q by A. So Q is measured in terms of coulomb and A is measured in terms of meter square. So coulomb per meter square is the SI unit of this surface charge density. And the dimensional formula for this will be m0, L minus 2, T1, and then A1. Once again, m0, L minus 2, T1, and then A1. The third one, that is called volume charge density. It is represented by the notation rho. So volume charge density is the charge per unit volume of a conductor. That is, it is a charge per unit volume of a conductor. It is represented by the equation rho is equal to Q by V. What is that? Rho is equal to Q by V. The SI unit for this volume charge density is Coulomb per meter cube. You can see that expression rho is equal to Q by V. Q is measured in terms of Coulomb and V is measured in terms of meter cube. So Coulomb per meter cube is the SI unit of this volume charge density. And the dimensional formula for this will be M0, L minus 3, T1 and then A1. So this is the dimensional formula for the volume charge density. So once again repeat. So continuous charge distribution, it is represented nothing but the closely packed charges on the conductor. That is called continuous charge distribution. It is of three types: linear charge density, surface charge density and volume charge density. Linear charge density is the charge per unit length of a conductor. Surface charge density is the charge per unit area of a conductor. Volume charge density is the charge per unit volume of a conductor. Next is electric intensity in terms of volume charge density. So we know the concept of volume charge density. It is the charge per unit volume of a conductor. So let us consider this conductor. We have taken a charge on this conductor. It has the volume V and let Q be the charge in this conductor. So charge per unit volume gives the volume charge density. Now we are going to express the expression for electric field intensity at a point near this conductor. To analyze this, let us consider this diagram. We have taken a part of the conductor. The charges will be present on the surface of the conductor and we have assumed a small volume that is represented by delta V. So you can see this. We have given a charge on this. We have cut that part of the conductor and this is called the volume charge density. So this volume, I will take it that as delta V, and the charges present in this volume section or volume element is given by delta Q. So we have to find out the electric field intensity at that point P, which is at a distance of R from the volume element. So we know the expression for electric field intensity at a point due to a point charge in the last sessions, that is given by E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square into R cap. So this is the expression for electric field intensity at a point due to a point charge. See, if we consider this volume or section of the conductor delta V, in this volume delta Q be the charge present in that. Therefore the electric field intensity at this point due to this charge delta Q is given by delta E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught delta Q by R square into R cap. Once again, delta E be the electric field intensity at the point P due to the charge delta Q at a distance R. It is given by delta E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught delta Q by R square into R cap. So we know that the expression for volume charge density, that is rho, is equal to delta Q by delta V. So instead of delta Q, I can write rho into delta V. So if I substitute the value of this delta Q in this expression, we will get delta E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught rho into delta V by R square into R cap. So this is the value of electric field intensity at the point P due to this volume element delta V. But our intention is to find out the total electric field at the point P due to the whole conductor. So you have taken the section of the volume of the conductor, that is delta V. So similarly we can take number of delta V. If we summate all those values, we'll get the total electric field at that point. Therefore the total or the resultant electric field intensity at P due to number of volume elements. The complete volume is given by delta E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught summation delta V all the volume elements rho into delta V divided by R square into R cap. So this is the expression for the electric field intensity at the point P due to the whole conductor. So, and this is the representation of electric field intensity in terms of volume charge density. Next concept is Gauss theorem. See, before going to the statement of Gauss theorem, let us know the importance of this Gauss theorem. See, in the last session, you heard about the concept of electric flux. See, electric flux is nothing but the number of electric field lines passing normally through the given surface area. Mathematically, the electric flux is the product of normal component of the electric field and surface element, that is delta phi is equal to E ds cos theta. If I write it in a vector form, that is given by phi is equal to E dot ds. See, in that expression, E and ds are vector components. So we have to define the electric flux with the help of vector components. See, vector analysis is difficult to analyze. So without using the vector quantities, we can also define the electric flux. So that concept was suggested by the Gauss, and that is called the Gauss theorem. This law states that, or this theorem states that, the total electric flux over any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. Once again, I'll repeat. The total electric flux over any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. So you can see the equation for that. Phi indicates the electric flux. 1 by epsilon naught is a constant, that is called the permittivity of free space, and Q indicates the net charge enclosed by that surface. In this expression, we are not used any vector quantities. A simple scalar quantities will be used to determine the electric flux. That is the speciality of this Gauss theorem. So once again, I repeat the statement of Gauss theorem. It states that the total electric flux over any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. To explain the Gauss theorem, let us consider a closed surface. In this closed surface, there are so many number of charges. So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and so on, Qn be the number of charges present in this closed conductor. So the net charge of this conductor is given by Q, as we know the additivity of a charge. It is the algebraic sum of the charges present at different parts of the external body. Therefore, capital Q indicates the net charge in that conductor. Q1, Q2, Q3 are the different point charges. If we summate all those things, we'll get the net charge. We know that by the Gauss theorem, electric flux is 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. Therefore, phi is equal to 1 by epsilon naught into Q1, Q2 and Q3, so on Qn. This term is nothing but the net charge Q. Hence, by the Gauss theorem, phi is equal to 1 by epsilon into Q. So, this is the general expression for the electric flux using Gauss theorem. So, Gauss theorem states that the total electric flux over any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. See, this is the proof for Gauss theorem. So, we know the statement of Gauss theorem. The total electric flux over any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. So here is the proof for the Gauss theorem. So let us consider a charge, point charge plus Q. So we have taken the charge plus Q. Let P be a point at a distance r. Imagine a spherical shape surface which is called the Gaussian surface. So what is this Gaussian surface? Any closed surface of any shape and size considered in an electric field is called the Gaussian surface. So imagine the Gaussian surface in the form of a sphere such that it has to pass through the point P. Let E be the electric field intensity at the point P due to the charge plus Q, and this surface will be divided into large number of small surface element, and I took one such element, this is the one such element of area ds. So first we have to find the flux through this surface. We know that by the definition of electric flux is nothing but the number of electric field lines passing normally through the given surface area, and it is given by the equation phi is equal to E ds cos theta. So we have taken a small area of that element, and through that element the flux through that element will be d phi. Therefore by the definition of electric flux through the surface area ds is d phi is equal to E into ds cos theta, where E cos theta is the normal component and ds is the surface element. So this is the expression for electric flux. So d phi is equal to E ds cos theta. This theta indicates the angle between the electric field vector as well as the area vector. So you can observe this expression. If you consider any conductor, spherical shape, if I take the normal to the spherical surface, that will be always along the direction of the normal to the surface. Therefore the electric field and the normal component are in the same direction. Since they are in the same direction, the angle between those two will be 0. Okay. Therefore if you substitute the value of theta is equal to 0, then cos 0 is 1. If you substitute the value of cos theta here, we'll get d phi is equal to E into ds. So this is the small flux which pass through this surface element ds. Then we have to find out the total electric flux over the entire surface. We know that the total flux is given by phi is equal to summation of d phi. If we consider small elements, if we add those elements, we'll get the summation of d phi. So phi is equal to summation of d phi. That is equal to summation of d phi is nothing but E into ds. So that summation of E into ds. This symbol called the summation can be applied only for the fragment element. So here we have divided the area into small element of area ds. Therefore if you want to summate that one, sigma ds, and if I summate all those values, we'll get the surface area of a sphere, and that is given by sigma ds is equal to 4 pi r square. See, 4 pi r square is the surface area of a sphere. And we know that expression for electric field intensity at this point due to a point charge in the last session, that is E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by r square. So if we substitute the value of E and ds, sigma ds in this expression, so E is the electric field intensity at the point P, and sigma ds is the surface area of that hypothetical surface. So if I substitute these values, we'll get phi is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square into 4 pi r square. So 4 pi get cancelled, r square get cancelled, and the remaining value will be phi is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge. And this is the proof for Gauss theorem. So once again I'll repeat the statement of Gauss theorem. It states that the total flux over any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by that surface. So hence the proof for the Gauss theorem.